Hi once again, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Welcome back into the Talk Sports Network and Silverman on Soccer, where it is time to talk about the beautiful game, if you will. Let's get right to it. Let us welcome in veteran play-by-play analyst, the soccer guru, if you will, because he knows everything there is to know about soccer. And if he doesn't know it, I'm not going to ask him, because I'm going to figure just on top of it, after all the conversations I've had over the years, that he knows everything. Go for it. See, that's what we learn in this business. Bruce Silverman once again here in Silverman on Soccer. How you doing, buddy?
I am very, very well. Always good to get together with you. I don't know if I know everything about soccer, but
Oh,
I do
just
know.
go with it. Go with it.
I know football is life.
No
Danny
more cliches.
Rojas.
Go with it, man. Look, when somebody, what is, I'm trying to think of the movie and I cannot think of it. When somebody asks if you can fly, you say yes, or something, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you always go for it, and then you figure it out later, right? And that's, and I think that's pretty much the topic of the conversation for today is, figure it out and just go for it. And that's kind of where we are right now. You wanted to talk about marketing of the beautiful game in the United States. Hang on. Let's get into it.
Let's set it up a little better here, because this is something that has stuck in my craw since the very first time I worked the sideline of a North American Soccer League game when I was 6 years old, which I have to say that because otherwise people think I'm very old, which I am, but I'm not going to act it, and I'm not going to never admit to it. Of course not. But this has been sitting in my craw for a long time. We hear over and over again how well the game of soccer is marketed in the United States. We hear about the fact that the game is growing. We hear about the fact that the teams are getting better. The leagues are getting better. Well, wait a minute. I'm going to stop right there, because as I look at the game, and here's what I do. I go to the websites of the major networks. I go to CBS Sports, NBC Sports, Yahoo Sports, USA Today Sports, ESPN, and what I do is go right to their soccer section. Every single one of them, the only thing I see on their front page is what's happening at Man United, what's happening at Juventus, what's happening in this league overseas, this league in South America. I have got to actually spend time and drill down to get to something about the MLS, the USL, the women's national team, the men's national team. It takes forever to get there. It's shoving the game at me from an international standpoint, and I don't see it from the home standpoint. And to me, that comes down to this. Soccer has done a terrible job, a ridiculously bad job, in promoting its athletes. I mean, on the women's team, let's go to the U.S. women's national team, great job. You see their players in commercials. You see them making appearances. You see them doing interviews. Men's team, are you kidding? It's almost as if they're in the witness protection program that the U.S. national soccer team is keeping them hidden. We don't want anybody to know about them. That's the problem that I have. Bruce, the marketing of the game and the athletes in this country is abominable, and it should be better, because people can't identify with a sport unless they can identify with the great stars of the game. And right now, you could ask 100 people on the street to name the best player, one player in MLS. I'll bet you if you ask 100 people on a street in Manhattan or Boise, Idaho, 4 people would know, and that's about it. That bothers me.
All right, I don't think it's quite 4 people, and I think that you would find
5.
a few more people in New York City than you would in Boise.
That's why I put Boise in there. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I get it. But if they were playing football in Boise, they would be doing it on a blue surface. Okay, so let's just put it right there. And there's a great example of marketing the game. It's Boise, Idaho, and they've figured out how to make the game a big deal in Turkey. Talking about Boise State, of course. I think there are things that the game of football in the United States needs to do to, number one, be relevant. It is part of the Big Five, but I think it's number 5 looking in, and it doesn't need to be. You talked about the original NASL. You talk about the original NASL, and you start talking about marketing of the game. You had a great slogan, "It's a kick in the grass." You had a great player in Pelé that came to the United States and played for the New York Cosmos in 75, 76, and 77. Unfortunately, that league died. So it's a restart. It's not an excuse We are many years later. The MLS is more than 25 years old. USL is going and growing at an unbelievable rate. There's more teams in USL Championship, USL League One, League Two than there is in MLS. I believe that USL is going to introduce promotion and relegation. I think that's going to be a marketing tool that's going to be very, very popular because, a moment ago you were just talking about the coverage overseas and the coverage not being about MLS and USL.
Well, no. I was talking about major sports websites that are based in America.
Yes.
CBS, NBC,
and they're talking about
ESPN, USA Today, Yahoo, and they're not covering USL, MLS. I mean, it's infinitesimally small, the amount of coverage they give.
So
to these sports.
let's break that down. Number one, overseas has promotion and relegation. It's a compelling story. We'll talk more about promotion and relegation on another show. But
we can mention it here. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I got it. But I do want to get more in depth about ProRel for an entire show. But ProRel is part of the marketing of the game. It's exciting.
ProRel for those who don't understand it.
So promotion and relegation is a concept that is very familiar with soccer around the world, not in the United States. We have promotion and relegation, but our promotion and relegation is by individual player, not by a team. So overseas, you have, say, 20 teams in the Premier League, and the bottom three get relegated to the second division of soccer in England, and the top three teams in that second division at the end of the season get promoted into the Premier League. And that creates an opportunity for marketing, for promotion, for excitement. Teams that are at the bottom in the Premier League, in League One, they're fighting to stay in the top tier league. The teams in the second division are trying to get to the first division and then stay there. You have some very storied franchises that are not in first division anymore. Some of them have dropped to 2 and 3. We learned, what? It's interesting. We joke about Ted Lasso on this show a lot. And I said, football is life. Well, in the first season of Ted Lasso, they directly addressed promotion and relegation. And the team that was in the Premier League got relegated. I would believe that more people in the United States know about promotion and relegation from Ted Lasso than they do from watching American soccer.
Not only do I agree with you, but I'm going to tell you how to introduce it to the United States. Because we need to, and I don't care, we need to dumb this down occasionally, okay? Promotion, demotion, that's it. Let's stop with relegation and say what you're going to do is you're going to be demoted. I realize that we're just playing semantics here. But to a United States audience who is not used to generations of relegation, they're going to think about it and go, what the hell is that? I've had people
actually get involved in that conversation.
So what you need to do is...
We're just used to playoffs.
Well, no, not even the playoffs. But look, your idea is a good one. Take the leagues themselves and make it so that... See, I've always talked about this. Split that league. And if you want to become one of the greats, if you want to become a champion, you've got to get up here. You got to play up here. Well, you got to get from here to here. However, in the United States, what we have are things called wild card playoffs and expanded playoffs, which they don't have in the soccer leagues in Europe. You have X number and there it is. So you've got to make a decision. Do you want to then split those into leagues, if you will, upper and lower, to where you have to reach up here in order to move on? Or do you just want to expand the playoffs so that at least you get close? To me, with an American audience, Bruce, it's expanded playoffs is what it means. That's what we understand. That's what we know. That's what people are used to.
And the reason for that is in the United States, NFL, NBA, NHL, what did I leave out?
NBA, Major League
NHL,
Baseball,
NBA,
hockey, basketball, even NASCAR now has a wild card playoff system.
So I think the difference between football in the United States, talk about soccer in the United States, soccer overseas. Overseas, there aren't rival leagues to Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL. There just isn't. So we're used to playoffs here. That's our system. You have a record, you make
Right.
the playoffs, you play for a championship. In soccer, that's been a different system around the world. The difference is that system did not come to the United States.
Right.
We created soccer in the United States to be on par and have a same type of setup as the Big Four here in the United States. And so I think what's going to happen is I truly believe that USL as an organization is going to introduce promotion and relegation. They're already set up for it. They have, USL Championship, which is considered the second division in the United States. They've got USL League One, which is considered third division. They have USL League Two, which is fourth division. Now, what I believe is going to happen is a number of teams that have been a part of the USL system for years that are associated with MLS teams. I think you're going to see most of those MLS affiliated teams leave USL, and they're going to have a lower division within MLS. It's not going to be for promotion and relegation. It's going to be development for homegrown players, for players that they sign to get them ready for MLS. But
Okay,
that's
stop
not
there.
promotion and relegation.
Okay, stop there a sec, because here we come again into the Americanization of a sport and how it's important, because Americans look at sports in a very certain way. So if you're going to talk about that, one of the issues with marketing and soccer in America is too many leagues. MLS, ULS, USL, MSL, ABCD, AFL, CIO. I mean, and if
it's definitely an alphabet soup. It's definitely an alphabet.
And people don't want to hear that. What they want to hear in America is major league, minor league. Stop. That's it. If you're going to be a minor league system, be minor league. But don't play this game with me where you're going to tell me that you're a major league and you're a major league and you're a minor major league and you're a major minor league. Stop with the nonsense. Americans don't go for that, Bruce.
Well,
maybe we're either really stupid or really smart. I can't figure out which.
I think we're somewhere in between.
Okay, fair.
I think what the reality in the United States is the federation, the USSF, is not representing and being a good steward of the game in the United States.
Okay.
Fair. They need to oversee everything in soccer in the United States, but they need to do it objectively and fairly.
Which will never happen in our lifetimes.
Every league, every organization of soccer in the United States needs to be promoted and marketed and valued by USSF.
Okay.
That has not happened.
Great idea.
That goes into the U.S. men's national team, the women's team, MLS, USL, NISA, USPL, MPSL, all the alphabet soup that's there, and there's a ton of them. The problem is that everybody works independently. USSF arbitrarily says you're Division I, you're Division II. They change the criteria all the time. It's one of the reasons why the NASL, the 2.0, died, because they kept moving the goalposts, if you will, on what was Division I and what was Division II. Well, and it's arbitrary. And this goes to the promotion relegation conversation that we had. In Europe, if you win, you win. And it doesn't matter if you've got a 3,000 seat building or a 30,000 seat building or an 80,000 seat building. It doesn't matter what the population of your city is. If you win, you can be in the upper division. In the United States, we have major markets and minor markets. And so what we have is we got USL, we got MLS, which is going to get the 30 teams.
There you go.
Yeah, it's confusing. You have Major League Soccer that currently has 29 teams. They're going to add a 30th, and they say they're going to stop there. So all they're doing is they're just cherry picking the biggest cities in America and saying you're Major League Soccer.
But I don't necessarily mind that, because you've got to make money and you've got to find the right population.
We'll get to money in a second, because that really goes to the marketing. The point I was going to make is, because of the lack of leadership from USSF, you have USL teams in MLS cities and vice versa. You have USL teams being promoted to MLS. Think Minnesota United, think Nashville SC. But then you have other teams like USL has a team in Charlotte. Well, there's going to be a team in Charlotte in MLS next year. They're not associated with each other. They just put a team, an MLS team, in Charlotte, even though there had been a USL team in Charlotte for a long time, and the ownership does not
split the money, which will split the fan base, which will then make a team that's not getting as much as the other one is getting, which will create a realm of havoc here. Let me make a comparison to you here, Bruce. And you mentioned this. We both used the phrase alphabet soup here in the last couple of minutes. Do you know what ruined boxing? Alphabet soup. WBA, WBC, IBF, IBU, UBF, again, AFL, CIO, AT&T, whatever you want. All these.
Hey, let's combine them.
It destroyed the sport of boxing.
The unified belt.
To where it was no longer important, because instead of having a unified champion, you had a unified champion here, and then 2 belts, and then 3 belts, and then 4 belts, and then 5 belts. It's ridiculous. And I know that this is going to create a lot of problems with people who are going to talk about monopolies and how antitrust laws get involved in here, and a lot of other things that happen legally. But what you need is one league that people can care about. That's the American way. The NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, PGA, LPGA, USTA, WTA. One league, one organization that runs everything, so that people can now say, okay, I don't have to worry about this being a minor league. Well, okay, it's a minor league. No worries. I know that I'm getting a minor league here, and they're preparing to move up to the next league. They're preparing to go to the big time. America wants a definition here, Bruce. You can't keep creating all these leagues in soccer and just praying that they're going to succeed. It'll fail. Marketing is a terrible decision.
In my opinion, the reason we have all of these leagues in America is going back to the conversation about USSF. There are leagues that have been created because USSF has not been looking out for the little guys.
Right.
So they're taking matters into their own hands and saying, okay, we're going to figure out how to do this on our own. You have USL, which, like I said, I believe is going to go promotion and relegation. They continue to put teams in cities. They've got a lot of cities that are building their own buildings, meaning soccer-specific stadiums.
Yep.
And that generates excitement. You know, I've been saying a lot about USSF, but here is one of the things about American soccer that I love, and that is the community aspect of so many teams. And if you go to the lower levels, if you go to USL, if you go to USL League One, if you go and you take a look at the NASL Part 2, you take a look at NISA, they are involved in the community. They are doing clinics all the time. The players, you know, you had mentioned about players and players being familiar and visual,
which we'll talk about here momentarily.
Right. So I think what's happening is I've always felt that soccer had an opportunity that Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, NFL doesn't have. And that is getting the players to interact with the fans. And the reason I think you can do this with soccer is, number one, salaries are lower. Number two, players in soccer in general are more community oriented. Maybe it's because of the money. Maybe it's because
I don't know. I haven't seen that. I don't see that.
Well, let's go back to it. You know, you had mentioned being on the sidelines when you were 6 years old, when you were sideline reporter for the Strikers back in the day. Where did the players go? Where did the players go after the games?
Players went to a place called Pierce Street Annex, which was a bar on Federal Highway, and they drank with the fans. That was where at least 3/4 of the players went. Nobody does that anymore because they don't want to be caught with a DUI. They don't want to have their pictures taken and put up on social media. They don't want to be seen as being drunk. They don't want to make the wrong moves. So what do? They go home, they tweet.
However,
tell me I'm wrong.
Lower level, at the lower levels, because I've seen fan interaction with the players at lower levels. And when I was with the Strikers, end of the game, every player was aligned against the fence, signing autographs. They would see guys. They would see guys go into their cars. You'd see some of the players at clinics. Those were things that the original NASL did. I remember going to day camp and going to Lockhart Stadium and working out with the players as a part of a field trip. Now, you would never have that today.
Why?
But those
okay,
things
stop.
are
Wait
happening.
a minute. You're right. Why? Why not?
Because the teams are not completely invested in the communities. They're invested in developing players. They're not invested in developing fans.
And I'm going to say something here which will be really controversial. And I know that there are people out there who are going to hammer me for it, but I don't care because it comes from personal experience and knowing what happens. There are a number of soccer teams in America, professional soccer teams, who spend time marketing to a certain faction of the community. They spend time going to a certain level of the community. They will sometimes go to and here we go. Here's the problem. I've seen this with teams that have promotions and players that are here for the Anglo-speaking audience, and there's nothing over here for the Hispanic audience. Or there's something set up for the Hispanic audience and not set up for the Anglo audience. You've got to stop that. If you want to bring soccer together, you need to bring the community together from red, blue, black, green, female, male, whatever you want. Everybody has got to be brought in. And I don't see soccer teams doing that right now. I don't see the community involvement. And on top of that, what I really don't see are the players. As I mentioned, there are times during the Olympics and the World Cup where you can't throw a dead cat without seeing someone from the U.S. women's national team in a commercial. God bless them.
And credit to the women that have not only been more successful, but they become more popular than the men.
And
what's interesting,
because they're friendly. They want to be out there.
They're friendly, they're engaging, and they know that their involvement in the community is the success of their team and their sport.
And the men's team doesn't get it. The men may as well be on witness protection and be protected by somebody sitting out in the middle of Arizona. They may as well go ahead and be in Goodfellas, for crying out loud. You never see them. You don't hear from them. They don't go out in the community. They don't do interviews. I don't see anything. And this comes down also to the pro sports leagues as well.
You remember the movie Battle of the Sexes?
No, I'm much too young.
It was the Billie Jean King body rig story.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that movie addressed was how the women created their own tennis organization and helped manage themselves. And they understood they needed to go out into the community to make their game more popular. And I think the women have done it very, very effectively, because in promotion of, say, the U.S. women's national team, they also know that they are promoting their league. Now, USL is about to start another women's league. Now, what I am interested in seeing is how that league is going to be fed in terms of the quality of players, because now you're going to have some teams in USL Women's League that are going to go after the Women's Soccer League, the WPSL. And so what's going to happen there? Obviously, the Women's League right now has a ton of issues in terms of players being sexually assaulted, hang on a second.
Yeah, but let's stay away from that. That's not part of it.
No. What I'm saying is it's going to be interesting to see how that league overcomes the issues that they need to address. There's a lot of there's owners that are being forced out. There are coaches that have already been fired. There are things that league needs to overcome. Is the USL going to take advantage of that? And then how are they going to market it?
But again, let's stick with marketing at this point, right where you are, instead of all of the.
I think it goes.
Off the
I think
field.
it goes to broadcast.
At right now. Well, hold on a second, and I'm going to work off exactly what you said. Women's soccer in America, whether it's a professional league or whether the U.S. women's national team, are the smartest marketers in this game. Period. End of story. Drop the dime. They get it.
Yep.
You know why? The women's soccer players understand that they need to get out there. They need to press the flesh. They need to be a part of the community. They need to do.
But it's a money
commercials.
thing. But it's a money thing too.
Fine. Okay. Let it be the money.
I think that's what divides it.
But wait a minute. But if they're getting the money for it, good for them. But at least they're out there doing it. The men's team doesn't. I'm telling you, Bruce, you couldn't. You ask somebody who's just a casual sports fan who's on the U.S. men's national soccer team. Zero. They won't be able to tell you. You ask them who's on the women's team, they'll probably come up with 3 or 4 women who are there or who have been there because they've done the great job. It's not only the U.S. men's national team, but it's the men's leagues in soccer in America. You don't see them. They're not doing commercials. They're not doing public appearances. They're not out there being featured in magazine articles or in web articles. They're not there doing podcasts that are popular. These guys, like, they don't give a shit. They really don't. It's like they're the most arrogant human sporting beings on the face of the planet and say, you'll come watch us because we're men's soccer. No, we won't. I mean, we don't care because we don't know who the hell you are.
So I think in terms of the men, in terms of men's players, I think it's a combination of the leagues and the teams and the agents need to do better jobs of putting players front and center. You know, look at the NFL. I've always been amazed by the NFL in terms of the way that they promote their players, because their players, when they're competing, are wearing helmets. Their faces can't be seen. And so in soccer, you have situations where the players are visual. You can see their faces. A lot of guys change their hairstyle every single week. You know, I know that we used to promote with the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. We promoted different players for different reasons. There was a guy by the name of Joe Nasco, and he had an amazing beard. And so the fans got behind the Fear the Beard campaign. And those are the sort of things that I think are there. You know what? I have always said, and when I was doing play-by-play for the Strikers, when I was doing play-by-play for Miami FC, I told ownership and I told the marketers, you need to promote this team and this league like it's minor league baseball. Minor league baseball, to me, best value, best entertainment of all the sports in the United States. I love going to minor league baseball. There are promotions. They get the fans engaged. It's a fun atmosphere. The players are playing their hearts out because they want to be promoted. There's that individual promotion relegation.
Sure.
Everyone in minor league baseball, in my opinion, tries harder. And there are very few
they have to.
teams.
Remember, they're barely getting paid. I mean, that's part of the reason. They're not in a real. They're professional ball players, but it's not like they're making the huge money. They're trying to get to the point where they can make the huge money.
But the teams are also doing a better job of bringing the fans out because, number one, minor league baseball costs a fraction of what it costs to go to a major league baseball game. Okay? The same with MLS versus USL. So the teams at the lower level are being more creative about promotion and marketing and everything else to get the fans there and then to give them a really good show so they want to come back. And I've seen it where they do it at the lower levels. And what happens is when those personnel, when you have a job and you're working in minor league sports and you're in charge of promotions or you're in charge of the fan experience or whatever it is, and you do that for a number of years and you get really successful, and then somebody says, I love what you're doing, come and do it at the major league level. And then they go there, but the difference is at the lower level, they may be the only person in the department. So they're handling everything. They're making the decision. They're going out and doing it. You get to the major league level, and there's 75 people in that department, and everybody has a different opinion. But at the end of the day, all the creative things that person did that got that team's attention, and it's regardless of sport, that got that attention so they could get that promotion, so they could work for the bigger club. Once they get to the bigger club, they don't have a voice anymore. All those creative things go out the window, and you hear that's not how we do it at this level. I mean, think about Moneyball. You go back, and I recently watched Moneyball again. Great movie. And what did you hear from the scouts? We don't do it that way. That's now not how it's done. You know, and there's too much of that. We are living in a society that is evolving so quickly. And this idea that, no, we can't do it because it's not done that way, that's going to make the difference between the businesses that fail and the businesses that succeed. It's going to be no different in sports. You're going to have teams that do it different. I mean, can you imagine? How cool would this be? Can you imagine if Bill Veeck owned a soccer team today? How much fun that team would be?
Maybe. If
People
wanted
would
to
be
get
talking
involved.
about it. People would be talking about it.
The thing about it is, I think, and we're just about out of time for today, but I think where we're at again is on the marketing issue. Let's stick with that because that's huge for the sport. Americans like a major league. They've tried 2 and 3 major leagues before. Anybody ever hear of the USFL, the WFL, the IFL? They all went away, and they all keep trying to come back, and they never stick around. Why? Americans are used to a major league, and you try as an athlete to hit that major league. You try to get there.
Sure.
Minor league baseball. You're trying to get to the show at all times. We cannot exist with having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major leagues in soccer. There's got to be one, and then the others have to work their way towards it. And if the USSF needs to start something like that and be the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, and set the rules, then do it, because that's what Americans are used to and what sells here. And from the player standpoint, please get out there and learn a lesson from the U.S. women's national team. And it's not just the organization itself, Bruce, it's the players. The women players have an attitude that I've got to go out and push this game, and I've got to push my sport, and I want to make more money, and I want to be more famous, and I want to get the commercial endorsements. The men's team? We're the men's national team. We're men's. You will sit down and you will bow to us because we are men players. No, we won't. I mean, sure, people are going to come back in this whole conversation, Bruce, and say, Ed, what are you, sick and stupid? Because look what's happening. There's arenas out there. There's stadiums out there. They're packed. Then why is it not making a greater impact? Because you tell me that it is. I don't see it. And also, we didn't get into the argument that I could have when you said that soccer's top 5. I'll have a problem with that because I think soccer, even though I know people are going to hit attendance records and all this, and they're going to tell me about what happens. The big 4 in this country is still NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, and NASCAR is right behind it, even though they've had their own problems. And you've got to start putting PGA, LPGA, tennis in there, and all the rest that are working. Soccer's doing a great job in putting bodies in the seats, but you're anonymous. You've got to market your players better, and the players have got to want to be marketed better. And I think the men need to come off their arrogant high horse and be part of that.
Here's what I would say to that. I think that the television money that is available for American soccer is nowhere near on par with any of the other organizations that you've talked about.
And probably won't be in our lifetime.
So one of the issues that you have is if these leagues and these teams aren't making the money, they aren't spending the money. There will be increase in television deals. You know, we just saw NBC re-upped for their coverage of the EPL in the United States, and it's costing them a lot more money. They're spending more money to televise EPL in the United States than networks are spending to televise MLS.
And there's my point. Country. That's international soccer. That is not American soccer.
Right. And again, what does international soccer have that U.S. soccer does not have? Promotion and relegation. They also happen to have much bigger budgets. They're signing and playing absolutely the best players in the world. You know, when a Ronaldo ends up going back to EPL, it's enormous news. He's getting paid more money to play for Manchester United than basically anybody else, and maybe even more than some MLS teams combined. So there's that. But MLS can't compete with those types of salaries because the income is not there. The ticket sales are not there. The television revenue is not there. The local television and radio revenue is not there. The promotion opportunities are not there. I'll give you a great example. Coach for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers a number of years ago was a guy by the name of Gunter Kronsteiner. And I went to the team and I said, you guys need to get in touch with the folks at Gunther Motors. You know, I don't care if you go to Kia or Mazda or Volkswagen or Volvo. But what a promotion they could have done. Gunter drives a Gunther. That would have been a great promotion for them. They never made the phone call. Those are the types of things that teams need to do. You put Gunter Kronsteiner on a Gunther commercial, and that's going to talk about the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. That's going to talk about soccer, and that's going to sell cars for Gunther. But they didn't do it. Here's the other part. You talk about broadcast.
Very quickly. Come on, we got to get out of here.
Yeah. I believe that soccer needs to be broadcasted in this country completely different than it's currently being done. When I call games that the casual sports fan can enjoy and the actual hardcore football fan can enjoy. And I think too many people tune in to watch soccer in the United States. One, they watch broadcasts in which it's clear that the broadcasters do not know the game in a lot of cases. And then the other part of it is when they do know the game, they tend to be so technical and they tend to be so talking down to the casual sports fan that the casual sports fan doesn't learn the game and gets turned off from it.
Well, that's
why I've been very careful to make the broadcasts of the games that I do fun and entertaining, where you can learn something and you can grow with the team or the game as it progresses. There's so much soccer being broadcast in America, and there's too many people that don't know the game they're calling it.
Well, and by the way, I want to go back and correct myself on what I said earlier, because I said that Major League Soccer and soccer in the United States is in a battle with baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and NASCAR. Hey, wait a minute. I left out college football and college basketball. I need to be shot on that one, because are you kidding? They'll never reach that kind of money.
The authorities will be in the studio momentarily.
And not only that, you've got sports there where up until the name, image, likeness kicked in, you didn't have players who were out there promoting themselves. Now they're out there promoting themselves, and that's going to be even bigger for the sport. They've got to focus on getting the personalities out in front. They've got to get the men, the women, the players have got to be out in front. People have got to recognize them, have got to understand them, and they've got to become part of the American sports discussion, because otherwise you're just anonymous. Let's go to the game. Can you name players there? Well, if you're a dedicated fan, sure you can. But the general fan who you want somebody to get interested in soccer? That's something for another day, which we'll have to do. And how to
I'll sum it up, and we'll finish this way. It's going to take a team and or a league to turn promotion, and we're not talking about promotion and relegation, to turn promotion and marketing on its ear in terms of American soccer. It is going to take something special. Teams are going to have to think very much outside the box in order to turn things around. And if one team can do it and do it successfully, then you'll see other teams do it. Then you'll see other leagues do it. But right now, the domestic leagues are not selling the players. They're selling the sport. The players are the sport.
Every sport that has succeeded in America has sold the players. I mean, basketball and football, even there, you could see features on the players. Before NIL came along, You could see coverage of the players, who they are, personality profiles. Their colleges have programs. Their local stations have programs. Cable and OTT and web programs that all talk to the players, interview them, get to know them. You don't see enough of
These
that
are
right now.
investments. What you're talking about
Thank
are
you.
investments that the teams need to make in the way that they promote their teams and their players.
Invest in the players.
If I was directing a team's broadcast effort like I did for Miami FC years ago, I would have individual packages on every single player available online on the website, put it behind a paywall. Actually, I don't agree with putting it behind a paywall because right now it's not about making money, it's about promoting. And the more that you promote your players and show them and show their personalities, one of the things that I used to love to do with Miami FC is we would do a halftime segment that would be part of the broadcast where we would highlight a player or we would highlight a vendor.
Yeah, but that's in the broadcast. That's in the broadcast, Bruce. That doesn't make
no. But it's all part of it.
Captive audience already.
But you need to take those efforts and move them outside into social media.
Well, yeah, but they're not doing it because they're lazy or they're cheap. I can't figure out which. It's either you're lazy or you're cheap, because it's pretty inexpensive anymore to use social media, and it's pretty easy to do.
You still need to have people on your staff that are equipped to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I love being a voice of a team, is because I got to know all the players and the players knew me, and I could promote the players within a broadcast, and then I could promote them in social media. And that is what it needs to be.
Hey, team, stop putting a 23-year-old there to take Instagram pictures and put them up. Yeah, you get a lot of clicks, but last time I checked, it's not getting a tremendous amount of additional publicity that you need for your players.
Get the 53-year-old in there, and then you're all set.
Facebook at Bruce Silverman, Twitter at Silverman Show, and also you can catch him here as we come back from time to time, week to week, and we talk about soccer. Mr. Silverman, always a pleasure, my friend. Good to see you again. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. We'll continue the discourse. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There you go. It's Bruce Silverman. I'm Ed Berliner. Don't forget, Talk Sports Network. You can catch us there. Just go to TalkSportsNetwork.com. See all of our shows there. Get a hold of me. Facebook and Twitter at Berliner Speaks. For Bruce Silverman, everybody here, I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Until next time, rock on, true believers. See ya.